that perspective, let's go back here to J.D. Edwards and let's create a sales order. So enter purchase order. Now what I'm going to focus on is email-based functionality. So for small suppliers, you don't want, like I showed you Amway, you don't want to have them to go into a manual and learn things. So in the smaller suppliers, you can't ever expect to get full compliance. Very strategic suppliers, yeah, I'm going to do that use case scenario. So this is a purchase order based on stock items. And I'm coming in here and I'm creating M30 and that supplier 4343, and let's create the purchase order, which is 5138. Jotting that now down. Let me add a couple of items. So I created that purchase order. Now I logged in as admin for a reason. I'm going to go into run batch jobs. So like I said, in a production environment, this would be auto turned on, this particular job. And I'm going to pause here because I want the technology side. That's why I have Jeremy, our product manager and implementer, and Suman, our chief technology officer. Suman, at a high level, explain what the folks are looking at right now when they're looking at these jobs.
Yeah, these are the batch jobs that can be automated based on the schedules. So the supplier notification email. Normally, you will want that email to go out in the morning, in the afternoon, maybe late afternoon, so that they can acknowledge, use that to send out the invoices or ship your orders. We are doing it, running it manually, just for the sake of the demo.
Okay, great. So I did execute that. Like I said, in a production environment, I wouldn't be doing that. So if I was to go back to my inbox, and there is that email, and this is the key, is an email like this, and they might be daily emails or emails triggered by action like a new purchase order. So what we're seeing here is that we're showing that 5138 was created for address book 4343. Now notice the format of the email. This is a section called New Purchase Orders, Revised Purchase Orders. There might be action on that. You want to cancel purchase orders, and to limit your liability, you're saying, hey, you've got to cancel, you've got to acknowledge these canceled purchase orders, or they're just going to keep showing up. Ready to invoice purchase orders. So we're basing it on the status code. So if I was to look, and let's look at the status code. If I was to look at that order in J.D. Edwards, and that was 5138. So you can see that the status codes, there we are, 220 and 300. So that basically says the order was created. It hasn't been acknowledged yet. So from the perspective of the user getting the email, now this is key. It's simplicity, the KISS. Think about it. They get the email. They need to acknowledge it. They click on acknowledge. They're not logging into the portal. They're auto-logged in. They're into the body of the email right now, and all they have to do is hit acknowledge. Now, by the way, I'm going to be going through use case scenarios showing change PO, and you see some of that here is, click to update. So you can allow suppliers to split lines, say due to transportation, we got a price change form there. Click to add comments. This is interesting. So what's a comment? It's the media object associated. That's the best place to keep an audit, because think about what this portal is. It's you're basically creating a holistic environment between suppliers and portals, taking communication that was hard to manage, Post-it notes and phone calls and, tying it to. So the comments are auto-generated. So based on action, we're going to generate it, or on top of the auto-generated comments that go into the media object of the PO, we can also allow suppliers and even buyers to add their generated comments. So I'm going to show a PO change in a little later. I just want to show the simplicity of acknowledging this PO from the perspective of Michelle Scott. So now at this particular point, if I was to go back into J.D. Edwards, and we can see that the status codes are now 300 and 370. So that's acknowledged status. So I'm going to go into the email right now. Now that it's acknowledged, I'm going to generate another email. This would be totally automated. And I want the supplier to invoice this purchase order. So I'm going to go back to my email system. And here's that. No. Just take a second. There it is right there. So it's on a batch. So you notice that under new purchase orders, the 5138 is not in there. If I come down here, ready to invoice purchase orders, I can, once again, simplicity, proactive emails with web services hyperlinks. And by the way, you notice I could, log in. And Suman, I want you to explain that these web services can be very intelligent. So as an example, like logging in,
yep.
we can make it, work one-time use, two-time use,
yep.
time stamp it for only, 1 day of usage, things like that, right?
Yep. Yep.
So, but I want to get back to the flow here. I want to invoice it. So the user is now creating the invoice, and let's call it invoice 5138. Let's come here and put a date stamp on it. Let's go ahead and say that we want to invoice both line items. And once again, additional charges. This is our integration. Think of our portal. So this is coming from a UDC out of their J.D. Edwards, right, Suman?
Yes.
And that's the way it works. If fields are limited by the number of characters, we built the portal to seamlessly work against E1. So I'm going to do a save and submit on this, and a draft invoice was created. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back and I'm going to show all invoices. And we can see the 5138 is waiting for receipt. And I could go into J.D. Edwards and show the status change, but you get the idea. So what I am going to do with J.D. Edwards is I'm going to do an enter receipts by PO and 5138. And do a find, and select it, and receipt option one, select those lines, all right. So now if I was to look at all invoices, and this is reading directly from the statuses in J.D. Edwards, there we go, 5138, there's the doc ID, 3474. So if I was to go here, 3474, do a query.
Voucher.
Oh, voucher, thank you. I'm the sales guy, that's why I have my techies here, but you can see it's there. So we basically, touched on the procure to pay process flow as you have it set up in JD Edwards.
Yeah, so we basically waited for the purchase order to be received and did a behind the scene automated three-way matching. Because this was an exact match, we don't need any manual intervention, and this can be all automated.